Hey, today I thought we would do a track breakdown on one of my favourite tracks I've done, which came out in November on the Empty Unknown EP I released. The track's called Paranoia. The overall EP and the idea for it was inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing, one of my favourite movies, and I love Ennio's score as well as you get your subtle John Carpenter synths in there as well. It's a nice blend and I love that. The key things about the movie are the paranoia, isolation, the unknown. Those are the themes that I think are the most important from that movie and one of the things that makes it so great. So I use the whole movie and the premise of those themes to sort of inspire this EP. It's in no way me saying, here's me doing a score for The Thing. Just taking those themes and seeing what I can create, referencing that. So you'll see that in the artwork, some of the decisions in the instrumentation. I love doing that because I think it guides where the track goes without me forcing something. And if something calls to me like, add strings here or some sub bass or some synths, then I do that. So that's been what I did for the whole EP. It's been very fun, and I'm going to break it down for you. So let's get into it. Okay, so here is the project Paranoia, and what I think we'll do, we'll have a listen to the overall piece, and then I'll go track by track breaking it down. Let's have a listen. So that's Paranoia. This piece was one of the last ones I made for the EP. It all started with the artwork. I already had the artwork at this point, so I knew I needed one more track. In this section here, it's a great little notepad for, you can do by whole project or track by track would change. However, I never use the track by track. I use the project a lot, especially when coming back to a piece, I've either forgot what I'm doing on there, or sometimes I'll leave notes of what to do next, maybe to sort of reignite working straight away on it. So if you didn't know, you can click edit and just drag and drop from your Finder any artwork. So that's what I did in this case, and I began just scoring the artwork. It all started with Albion Tundra's Vral grid. That sounds like this. What I really like about this is the subtle textures and noise and clicks and something unusual about it, but I really like it. And these grids evolve over time, so the very good held notes. It looks like I'm being lazy and just pulled up the first patch. I might have been doing that in the moment just to get a bed of sound down to begin with, but I really love the texture, and to me, texture is one of the most important things when making a track. And then the EQ on this is just very basic, taking out some low mids and some resonant frequencies. I think in hindsight, I should have took out some of the upper mids as well to make space for some of the leads and things like that. But I'm very happy with how this turned out anyway. After that, it went straight to the CDT patch. CDT? Yeah. And all that is playing this A minor chord A sus2. There's a bit of tension and release, and both of these, both the Vral and CDT, are throughout the whole piece. That is sort of the bed of sound for this. So they're played throughout. Then the next instrument we hear is a piano. Remember, this was added after the fact. I sort of listened back and felt there was a melody missing here. So that is how this was added. So initially I had little plate on there. I think I do later on in the track, however. Something I don't use often is Soundly's Place It. And this is the shopping mall preset. I'll play it without. And then with. I think it adds a lot, especially when you think of the themes that I mentioned in the beginning. Isolation, paranoia. I was picturing an abandoned shopping mall when I saw this preset, so I thought it fit. So we went with that. Throughout the whole EP, woodwinds are maybe the most important. To me, obviously, you play woodwinds with cold. They sort of matched up, so I felt it captured the feeling of the piece. So we've got BBC SO clarinet as well as high woodwinds finger trills. So here's the clarinet. And I believe an octave above that is the finger trills. I added some sort of mystery to it as well, with the grid and CDT. We also have a pad being played from bar 13, and that is Tundra pads, I believe. They have a whole pad section. To me, this sounds a little like strings, but it's titled Hairy Organ, so. Then, from bar 17, I believe, we've got our rhythm section, which is is here. I'll play that for you now. So this is a combination of Native Instruments Ashlight, which has got some fantastic rhythms in there and a great sequencer. This is the Gone preset. And that, as you can see, this granular section here adds this subtle noise, which reminds me of what the Vral grid is doing. And then we also have Oliver Patrice Vader's The Pool Project. These synth loops are my favourite thing on this whole thing. I think they're really interesting tempo synced rhythms, which with your modulation wheel can add really interesting delays. But for this, I've got it quite basic, just a 4 on the floor, I believe. And then with the piece. Then we come to this section here, which I wanted a bit of a break, a sort of, we've introduced elements now, I want to take them away and make you feel uncomfortable for a little minute. So we go back to our tried and true, trusty throughout the whole piece. That A minor, A sus 2, and the grid again. Until we get hit in the face with these rhythms triggering there. So here at bar 33 we come to a different piano straight away. These are the sort of driving chords for this section, and this is Addictive Keys. I think it's a piano I edited a while ago. I boosted the dissonance, sample shifted it down, and I may have played with the noise as well. What I was going for this was definitely a 9 Inch Nails type sound. I think that pianos always sound so interesting, hence the title of this. And then in this first section, we've also got another CDT patch called Sinking Feeling. What I like about CDT is it is it's dynamic based. If I play lightly, we get one sound. If I play harder, it changes. So it's fun because it relies on you playing it in and playing differently. So with the piano, I think it adds a lot. Let's go into a supermassive patch. I think it adds a nice high end to the low dissonant sound we get from this piano. Of course, we've still got our Vral grid and CDT, A minor, A sus 2 throughout. We then introduce strings. So the first strings I'll show you. And I'll add the second ones. So these are from Albion Tundra. We got the Ice Tratto, and then the low strings Silken Consort. With the piano, I think they're very important throughout this whole section, as well as Sinking Feeling. So that is a mistake in my modulation on those strings, but I think it works either way. In hindsight, I'd change it, but I had a deadline in mind, so that's fine. So a lot of texture there, and then I also added some synth elements. So we have one of my favourite patches. This is from the Korg prologue. It's called Sullen Rings. So I'll play without any processing. Then we've got Little Plate from Sound Toys at full wet mix. Then some basic EQ, taking out some low end and low mids. And then finally Shaper Box, which is giving this panning left and right. I love Shaper Box for this. It just makes some parts that feel stagnant and sitting there, give them some movement. Very fun tool. And then also from the Korg prologue is the sub. Very basic, looped throughout this whole section just to reinforce some low end. Then next we've got our woodwind coming in. So that synth we've heard drops out, and if I highlight the right one, this piccolo. Something I wanted to do with the melodies, which I have in my notes for the whole EP, is I didn't want the melodies to be fast. They had to be slow evolving movements. That was sort of a rule I gave myself. And then layered with the piccolo is some high woodwind, overblown aleatoric. And this adds a lot to this section, I think, personally. Again, the same melody, but I think it suits the style for what we're going for. Then we also have throughout this section this rhythmic area, and I'm quite excited to show this because I love doing this. I believe I did it on stream. I have a noise box I built a while ago. Basically 2 contact microphones inside of a wooden box with some fabrication parts, some springs, bolts, and then items I can either wrap bass strings around, bow with a violin. I just did a session recording this. I think it was one big track. And then I cut out what suited and layered it here to see which ones I wanted to take and use. So we'll play each one of these, and then I'll show you what finally made it into the project. So this is just me hitting matchsticks on it. I should say as well, that processing is the noise box going into the Lyra 8 input, and I was playing with the distortion as well as the feedback delay. Texture. So this is me bowing the springs that are on there, very lightly I believe. More bowing. I just wanted to create more of those subtle noises you hear in Vralgrid and Ashlight. I think this is me bowing it and accidentally knocking it, which caused that delay we heard at the end. Then we've got me hitting it. That was just a basic one. More hitting it with some more feedback, it looks like. Smaller hit. I believe that's the only one throughout that whole recording. Feedback. I think these are washers on bolts that are attached to it. And then again, just hitting it. So in the actual project, in this section, we've got the violin hit, which we've heard. And on there, it's just some decapitator and some basic EQ. And then my favorite one, the noise box rhythm. I think I dragged in one of the basic hits, and this was when Logic had their last update, which was a mastering assistant, and Beat Breaker was one of them, as well as I think they had a granular thing, but I've not dove into that much. But I used the Beat Breaker quite a lot. So I'll take everything off so you can hear it. So basic EQ, then we add little radiator, then this beat breaker, some decapitator, supermassive, but now it's a bit too spacey, too much in a room, so then I EQ that and take away some of the high end. That's what I did with the noise box, so I will play you the whole rhythm section for this. So that is the Lyra 8, and then these rhythms. And then we'll add the grid. CDT. I think we've got some really interesting rhythm going though. And I like trying to record something rather than just relying on all the libraries I've got. That way there's some human element. It's not going to be perfect, and I quite like that. That's important in tracks. You'll notice as well on some of the melodies, I'm still quite bad at always hitting Q and quantizing, but I'm trying to be more reserved in when I do that and why I do it. We also have some extra strings here. And this is Ravenbush Moonglades. Contrary motion. I think they just add a bit of a sickly motion to it, which, thinking about the themes again, paranoia, always looking over your shoulder sort of thing. I really like that for it. And then in the end, this outro, we have the same piano melody we've heard from bar 9 at the beginning. However, this sounds brighter, and that's because we've got little plate now instead of Soundly's place it. And then that outro, I just wanted to add a bar more to make you feel like it's continuing and then stop all of a sudden. Something unexpected, hopefully. But yeah, that has been the breakdown for Paranoia. Let me know if you got something out of this. I really enjoyed doing it. And yeah, thanks for watching.